No, well, let me ask you this. You've made it clear, and this is not going to change. You think transgender people are the problem here. So what specifically do you think should be done?
No. When did I say that?
All right, you clearly think
when did I say that,
you
Brianna?
think it's a pattern?
You just created live. You just created live fake news. You just did it right in front of the small viewership you have.
Mr. Gorka, what do you think should be done here?
Pow.
White House Senior Director for Counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. So I know you're focusing on the shooter being trans. The shooter was trans, and that is certainly of note. But are you missing the bigger picture here when you zero in on that instead of more broadly these school shooters as an epidemic, and you perhaps miss the through line that connects them all?
I don't like where this is going.
Well, no, because your facts obfuscate two things. You are using data based upon the predominant gun violence, which is gang-on-gang violence with zero ideological content. If you remove all of that, the gang violence on the streets of Chicago, LA, Detroit, then you come down to a much smaller data set. So it's like those who say, gun violence in America causes so many deaths, and then fail to note that the majority of the stats they are using refer to also suicides by gun, which of course is not what we are talking about here today. So let's concentrate on mass shootings at schools, specifically Christian or Catholic schools. Then the data set is wholly different. So don't conflate different data sets just to make a political point. There was an ideological content to this attack. That's what terrorism is. It's not because somebody didn't get the drug deal they wanted. It is an ideological message, whether it was anti-Israel, as in this case, whether it targeted President Trump in its rhetoric, as we saw on one of the magazines written by the perpetrator on that YouTube video, or whether we saw the fact that it was anti-Christian and targeting children. That has nothing to do with gang violence. Let's not mix the two things up.
So let's narrow it down then, because by CNN's count, when you look at 32 school shootings since 2020, in which you have 4 or more people who have been killed, so these are the larger school shootings, only 3 of 32 of those shootings were committed by transgender shooters.
Yeah, forgive me if I don't go with CNN stats, okay? CNN has proven itself to be wholly inaccurate in all kinds of things for the last 10 years, perpetrators of the Russia hoax, and that we didn't have an open border. So please forgive me if I don't take your stats for granted.
All right, it's simple math. 2 of 32
No, it's
shootings.
not. It's distortions. You are distorting the facts. Let me be clear. In just a couple of years, we have seen 7 mass shootings involving people of transgender nature or who are confused in their gender. 7
I saw what
in
you
just
tweeted.
the last couple of years.
I see your list of 7.
Inordinately high. So
I see your list of 7. 2 of them
I'm
are
going to see
Sebastian and
I'm going to
Mr. Gorka.
stick with the facts and not CNN's pseudo facts.
We can't stick with your facts because they're not accurate. In fact, in 2 of them, one of the ones you quoted.
Let's talk about CNN's reputation for accuracy.
In one of the ones in which you posted, there was no evidence that he was trans.
Right.
In another, the individual was known within his family by male pronouns and used anti-LGBT
you have an agenda.
rhetoric. No, well, let me ask you this. You've made it clear, and this is not going to change. You think transgender people are the problem here. So what specifically do you think should be done?
No. When did I say that?
All right, you clearly think
when did I say that,
you
Brianna?
think it's a pattern?
You just created live. You just created live fake news. You just did it right in front of the small viewership you have.
Mr. Gorka, what do you think should be done here? You have zeroed in on the fact, on what you see is a problem, what you claim is a problem. What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about this problem you see?
I have noticed a disturbing. Do you think it's a problem that individuals are targeting little children at Catholic schools? Do you think that's something we should ignore?
Of course I think that's a problem.
Thank you. So what we should do is we should look at the early warning signals, the signs. One of these shooters at a recent school shooting had 24 interactions with the local law enforcement. Now, that beggars belief. We should be providing off-ramps. We should be providing mental health options for these individuals. I find it hard to believe that an individual goes from getting his mother to sign a change of name certificate, age 17, and then just a handful of years later is mowing down innocent children in a church pew during a Catholic mass, and nobody realized there was a problem. That's what we have to address to save the next children from the next atrocity. It's not about the sexual proclivities of the individual. It's the fact that nobody seems to notice a very disturbing pattern towards violence. You don't wake up one morning saying, I'm going to do a video on YouTube threatening to kill the president, targeting Jews, targeting children. That doesn't happen overnight. Somebody saw that degradation, somebody saw those mental issues and said nothing. That's what we have to prevent. The early warning signals must be addressed if children's lives are to be saved.
There seems to be this growing trend in media where some journalists no longer see their role as asking questions and letting people answer them. Instead, it feels like they've already decided what the correct answer is supposed to be, and anyone who challenges that narrative must get interrupted, talked over, treated with open hostility. That's crazy, folks. Because when I see that happen, I don't see journalism, folks. I see activism disguised as journalism. Because there is a huge, big difference between asking tough questions and trying to control a conversation. Yeah, a good interviewer, folks, they let the audience hear both sides, right? Then they decide for themselves. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. But when somebody keeps cutting people off, changing the subject, refusing to let an answer be completed.
A Vietnam veteran verbally attacked on a VIA bus for wearing his Make America Great Again hat. Tonight, he's sharing his story.
So I turned around and I says, "Bring it on, Bubba." And I was in my defensive stance with my hand on my baton.
The intense exchange got so heated, police were called. Eyewitness News reporter Henry Ramos with the outburst and this veteran's message.
I refuse to not wear the hat everywhere.
Kermit Moss is not backing down.
My father died in the Korean War, and my mother served in World War II in the Women's Army Corps. So I will not take this hat off for anybody.
Because of his MAGA hat, the Vietnam vet says a VIA bus trip to Walmart took an unexpected turn Thursday morning.
He started out right away calling Trump a racist and this and that.
He says two men harassed him because of his pro-Trump hat.
I was still walking to the back, and then the bigger man said something that was intimidating too much. So I turned around and I says, "Bring it on, Bubba." And I was in my defensive stance with my hand on my baton.
Moss says the bus driver then intervened.
The bus driver stuck up with me. I want to thank him. One of them wouldn't shut up, so he got off the bus. He knew that he was calling in a police report.
He says the men were more than just disrespectful, but intimidating.
I think it's going to get worse. I told the policeman that. That's why I went ahead and decided to make the police report, because it's going to get worse. And I'm very sad that the country is divided.
Henry joins us now from Kermit Moss's bus stop in Northwest San Antonio. Henry, what happened to the men?
Deborah, Moss says as soon as the men heard police were involved, one of the men got off the bus, the other just kind of backed off. Moss did talk to police, as you heard there. He says he's afraid that it's going to get worse. In fact, he says this is the third time this has happened to him. Tonight, he just wants to warn other President Trump supporters to be careful.
We're all vets, just like you, sir. Yes, we're all vets.
Are you enjoying this country now?
No, because he's turning it the wrong way. Talk for freedom of speech.
Let them have they say, it's okay.
Give me a fucking gun, I'll shoot you, son of a bitch.
No, it's okay.
It ain't okay.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
I fought for the freedom you guys enjoy.
Sir, I did the same thing.
Let him go. You're not a fucking vet.
I'm a veteran.
I don't give a shit. No, you wouldn't. Oh, how was that fucking sign? You want to take me on?
Here for the best, not for Trump. 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 Here for the best, not for Trump.
Anybody that holds a sign up against our president is what upsets me.
Get ready for it.
And I'm not afraid of any one of them. If I had a gun here now, I'd wipe them all out.
Whether you have to use it.
I'm upset right now. I come over here to enjoy Veterans Day and look at what I got. I fought for the freedom that they're enjoying. I was in the Pacific with MacArthur against the Japanese, and I was also with the surrender of Japan. And I am mad. I'm not afraid of any one of you mothers.
Let's be honest. This is one of the reasons why trust in major media outlets has collapsed over the years, ladies and gentlemen. People that didn't wake up one day and suddenly decided they hated the media. No, folks, mainstream media, by the way. Trust was lost gradually. It happened because people kept seeing examples where reporters appeared more interested in defending a political position rather than actually reporting the facts. You see? Yeah, it happened because viewers, they're smart, ladies and gentlemen. They see the double standards. Yeah. You can keep manipulating the viewers because they are rather after being information, right? Folks, the reality is that truth doesn't need protection. If something is true, it can withstand questions. It can withstand criticism. Yeah, it can withstand debate, folks. The moment people start acting as though certain topics are off the limits or certain questions should never be asked, that's what, that's when alarm bells start ringing. Because, folks, a healthy society doesn't need fear in discussions. A healthy society actually encourages discussions. But the crazy part is what we constantly witness is a major shift in how people consume the news, information. The old model, ladies and gentlemen, it relied heavily on a handful of large organizations, acting as the gatekeepers, right? But those days are fading, ladies and gentlemen. Now people can compare sources, watch clips for themselves, you see, and make up their own minds. That's why this kind of confrontation, they kind of matter, to be honest, because obviously they will expose, that which is genuine discussions or narrative management, you see. Yeah, and I also think, speaking of principles, one of the reasons many Americans, they continue to admire veterans is because veterans, they represent something that seems increasingly rare today, ladies and gentlemen. Sacrifice, courage, commitment to something bigger than yourself. Yeah, whether you agree with every political opinion of a veteran, that's kind of completely irrelevant. The fact is that these are men and women who volunteer to serve their country, ladies and gentlemen, usually at enormous personal cost. Yeah, and what's even bothering, it's seeing a culture, where respect has become secondary or conditional. You see, some people, they seem willing to honor service only when the veteran share a same political worldview, you see. But that's backward, ladies and gentlemen. Respect for service. Come on, folks. Our veterans, it shouldn't depend on whether someone votes the way you want them to vote, per se, because freedom means people have the right to obviously hold different opinions, right? But when I see older veterans, you see, Israel in this case, standing his ground, refusing to be bullied, I see someone who understands something that the a majority of the young folks, they have forgotten. Life isn't about following the crowd, ladies and gentlemen. It's about saying whatever, standing on what's right, right? Yeah, the ultimate is not whether people clapped for you, following the masses. Because sometimes, folks, standing for what you believe actually means standing alone. Most of the time, to be honest. Yeah, it actually means becoming unpopular. You see? Yeah, and that means people may yell at you at some point, insult you, try to shame you into silence. Yeah, but real courage, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about posting slogans or catchphrases, hashtags online, you see? Keyboard warriors, doing stuff everybody agrees with you. Real courage is holding your ground, especially when the pressure is on. Yeah, refusing to surrender, ladies and gentlemen. You're on your beliefs simply because somebody else don't like them. That's something I think we need to see a lot more of, especially now. Because, folks, at the end of the day, I think people are hungry for authenticity. They are tired of careful, crafted talking points. Tired of the spin, ladies and gentlemen. And being told that your opinions don't matter. This is what you're supposed to think. Folks, that's crazy. Because people who are willing to speak plainly, defend their views, without hiding necessarily behind slogans, media narratives. That's really what freedom is like. Yeah, and whether we're talking about media or politics, freedom of speech, respect for veterans, the common thing really, it's a matter of, is that common sense matters, ladies and gentlemen. Truth matters. Accountability matters. Because if we're going to have a healthy society, we need more people willing to stand up for those principles, even when it may not be popular. You see, it may be difficult sometimes, most of the time, to be honest. Even when powerful institutions would rather they stayed quiet. You see, because history, ladies and gentlemen, has never been shaped by people who simply went along with the crowd. It has always been shaped by people who had the courage to speak up, stand firm, refuse to back down, especially when it matters the most. Absolutely. Folks, enjoy this one. Click on the next. You'll definitely enjoy it for more.